What I realize is if you're a parent and you're sending your kid out, I'm going to say this many times, but if you're a parent, you're sending your kid out with a bowl of oatmeal and no protein source, no quality fat source, or a bowl of cereal and not enough protein, it's like child abuse at this point, because it's going to be so hard to catch up on protein.
Welcome to PricePlow.
What's happening, PricePlow Nation, and everyone coming on in here wondering what is this guy doing with the glucose tolerance test? This is Mike Roberto, founder of PricePlow, a tech and media company where we save you money on supplements and meat, do a lot of supplement reviews, talk about ingredients and diet research, and that's the rabbit hole we're going down here. So, long story short, I am a low-carb dieter, but I'm one of these lean mass hyper responders who actually is, even though I'm a bit on the lean side, I have a high LDL cholesterol score to the point where my first doctor wanted to put me on statins. I went down the rabbit hole and noticed that my HDL, which is the healthy cholesterol, is high. My triglycerides are low. All my ratios look good. My A1C is low because I stay on a low-carb diet. And looking at the data, I am not in a 10-year risk range for cardiovascular disease. But I did want to start experimenting with how I could incorporate carbohydrates back into my diet, and that's why we're here. I have a constant glucose monitor hooked up, and right now, it just popped over 90, so I'm at 92 in American units. So what I'm gonna do in this diet, and first off, we should talk about where I've been, because I just had my blood work done. They gave me a bad stick here. I'm bruised up a little bit. So I just had my blood work done again, because it's been a month since those last lipid panels, and I did an advanced lipid panel, so we know even more information, and that should be posted pretty soon on this channel. So subscribe to the channel. But in the long story short is that I have a very, I guess, close to carnivore diet, where it's mostly it's heavily meat based and very low carb. And that's what I had to get the high LDL in the first place. So I kind of went back to that for a couple weeks, rematched it, and then we're starting from day one. So what you're gonna see is me doing 75 grams of carbohydrates, mostly from dextrose, in a 2 to 3 hour span. We're gonna see how the curve looks on this Dexcom G6 scanner, and we'll get a couple theories on how it's gonna work. But overall, I have a feeling that since I'm not used to carbohydrate, either my glycogen stores are going to refill really quickly, which may not give me a bad spike, or my body's not used to it and I'm going to have a horrible spike. And I think after I get on this month-long diet plan, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to be rolling in 100 grams of carbohydrates per day, usually 50 pre, usually 50 post-workout. Then we're going to do another one of these tests later on. I think I'm going to be more adapted to it. Now, where people do really bad with the oral glucose tolerance test, and this is basically 75 grams of carbohydrates, you should do an insulin test, which I did get tested this morning. You should do an insulin test before and after, then you can get more data. But I'm already home. There's no way of doing an insulin test here, so this is what it is. And what we're going to do is we're going to see how I respond to 75 grams of carbohydrates. Normally, you would do this with just straight dextrose, but that's boring. So where is my box of Sweet Tarts? We are doing 75 grams of carbohydrates, which is from 80.3 grams of Sweet Tarts. Now, looking at the label, it's dextrose, then maltodextrin, 14 grams of carbohydrates per serving out of a 15-gram serving. 13 grams of that is sugar, so most of this really is dextrose, and then a bit of maltodextrin. And this is gonna be the standard for what we do. Now, my theory is that after I'm going to have a better tolerance test after doing 100 grams a day, because I'm going to get used to it. The people who really fail at these tolerance tests are the people who are just way overstuffed with sugar, or people who are just way not adapted, who are so keto, so carnivore that they cannot handle, they're just not used to it at all. And I might be in that case right now. I do think that the glucose tolerance test is going to give us some good information, but it's fallible, because we can mess around with this a little bit, we'll see. But this video is going to go up alone. So what's going to happen here, this is day one. We're going to throw down 75 grams of carbohydrates, and then I'll have 25 grams to do later on. And then we're going to chart the curve, and it's all going to be presented by the Dexcom G6 here. And this is the start of our journey. So I am excited. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep the calories. I'm like right under 2,700 calories. I weighed 177 pounds this morning, and we're going to try to log all this on the PricePlow blog and keep everything as specific and as in line and as controlled as possible. I'm trying to go to sleep at the same time, trying to turn off my phone at the same time, all this stuff. So stay on. Here, this is gonna be a big mess. You get to watch me eat 80.3 grams of Sweet Tarts. And then over the course of time, I might pop back in here once in a while. I'm just gonna sit here and do work. I'm not gonna train. A lot of times I will be training when I take a carbohydrate supplement, such as the demo day up there, or these other ones. We're gonna do some supplement reviews. A lot of times I will be training because that's what they're used for. This, we need to see how things go if I just have sugar straight up pretty much, and then sit at my computer and work. So that's the curve you're gonna see here. All right, my mouth has been watering like crazy getting ready for this. I am so excited. I've been kind of planning this for a while, and I've been craving Sweet Tarts so bad. So now you could do this with a doctor. Oh my God, that's so good. All the lab test places, they have 2 and 3 hour glucose tests. 3 hours better, but I saw a study that showed that 2 hour tests are enough. If you get if you get insulin and glucose within 2 hours, it's enough to get statistically significant information. You might not need 3. Oh my God, I love these things. Now, hat tip to Dave Feldman, who runs Cholesterol Code. He did a recent a test with a lot of sugar, and he actually used bottle caps. And I was like, what? Dude, get out of here. Gotta be a Sweet Tart. I also noticed that runts have the same amount of macros, but runts kind of have some wacky stuff too. I would rather use those, but this is more straight to the point, pretty much pure dextrose almost. But some people might complain, hey, we should be using full dextrose. You know what? This is my test. It's gonna be hard to do this and sit here, watch my blood sugar spike, and not go work out, I'll be honest. One of these flavors, it might be the green one. Let's do a few green ones. Kind of tastes almost like a little skunky. Yeah, I'm not into the green one that much. My blood sugar just went down a touch. All right, 88. The Dexcom G6 does, it takes a measurement every 5 minutes. It's hooked up to my stomach right here. And this sensor, it just started this morning. It'll last 10 to 14 days. My A1C is 5.2. There was a recent study that showed if your A1C, there's a A1C and mortality. There is a J-shaped curve, meaning people with very low A1Cs had higher risk of mortality. Then there's a sweet spot, which bottoms out at 5.4 actually. And then once your A1C gets way too high, then you're in trouble for death. And it goes asymptotic, like way up there. So it's called a J-shaped curve. So too low of an A1C is sometimes not a good thing. I was actually lower than the prime point in that study, which was 5.4. Now I know I'm not, the same as all those people in that study, but the point is I had gotten so low carb that it may have been taken too far, and I have room for carbohydrate. I just realized I never tested ketones. What a fail. Really quickly, might as well. My blood sugar hasn't yet moved. I'm 15 hours fasted, 15 and a half hours fasted at this point. Blood sugar hasn't officially moved. So if I have ketones in the bloodstream, they are gonna be going away pretty quickly. My body's gonna use that up and be like, yo, it's time to get rid of the sugar here. Okay, 0.7, 0.8, that's about where my fasted ketones will be, especially on a higher meat diet after about 15 hours or so. So after 2 or 3 hours, we should do this. I'm not gonna be pricking myself like crazy. That's the whole point of getting the CGM. Pricking myself like crazy with ketones, but good to know. 0.7, 0.8 maybe is where we really started. Almost done. I'll tell you what. I'm trying to take my time here. This video is gonna be dragging out because I BS too much, but I'm almost towards the end here. This is what I have left. I want more. I already know. I'm telling you right now. There's an addictive component to sugars and carbohydrates, even artificial sweeteners. And if you can't control that addiction, you need to explore a low carb or a very low carb diet. I could easily go and eat 3 of these boxes. And what's gonna happen is, on my way back down, I'm assuming, I have a blood sugar spike, on my way back down, I'm gonna take no supplements today. I'm gonna be getting hangry on the way down. And at some point once this is done, then I'm gonna go and eat my fatty meal. One of my theories, and this is what we're gonna do in this experiment, I'm keeping the fats away from the carbs as much as possible. You can make a link back to my anti-autumnal kind of introductory video on that. But in general, while my insulin is spiked, because the blood sugar is spiked, if we don't know my insulin, the blood sugar will be a proxy for that. While my insulin is spiked, I don't want carbohydrates because they will go straight into the adipose tissue. No need for them because I will not be using them as energy while I'm burning off the sugar. I'm a big believer in this, and we're going to be testing it over the course of time. If I have success with this diet, I might actually move those 100 carbohydrates with fats along the way. And if I show something different, we're going to notice because I'm showing pictures of myself. All right, my blood sugar has dropped at this point, 82. So I think my body's pumping out some insulin and really overcompensating. We're going to have to see what happens over the course of time. I did want to kind of slow down and wait for that next reading. This has gone long enough at this point though. And Brad will have to do some creative editing. All right, so we'll be back with a nice little curve. I might pop in, tell you how I'm feeling as we're watching this, but I need to get to work. It's been a crazy day. And then the fun begins. This is where we start. This is what my blood sugar curve is going to look like after a nearly carnivore diet. And then we're going to be testing a whole lot of stuff and seeing if I can get a little bit more carb adapted because I want to use it for performance before workouts and to spike my hunger because I am to the point now where I'm not even hungry anymore. And I undereat a little bit if I'm not tracking macros. So we're going to put this in MyFitnessPal. It's all going to be public. A lot of this is going to be on my personal Instagram at PricePlow Mike. And then some of the official stuff like supplement reviews, that'll be on the main Instagram, which is PricePlow. All right, we'll be back whenever it happens, but 2 to 3 hours at the latest, but probably I'll kick in once I see something interesting happen here. We'll see ya. All right, 1 hour in, and look at this chart. Can we get this thing to focus? Look at that chart. I'm just starting to skyrocket. In fact, I think my doctor might get paged if it goes any 5 points higher than this, so I can check the alerts. But it took like 15 minutes to kick in, and once it started going. My mouth is dry. I need a lot more water actually. And I am, yeah, that's it. My mouth's dry. I need to drink water. All right, we will be back. We'll see how high this thing goes. All right, we're 2 hours in. Look at what happened here. So I never hit 200, but I hung up there for quite a while in the 190s. I think I peaked out at 196. I definitely saw 195. And then I'm starting to go down at 2 hours. So I think the 3 hour test will be good enough. And just kind of cruising here. Overall, the dryness of the mouth has not gone away no matter like how much water I drink. And that's about it. I'm not getting any. I walked by and I put some of the Sweet Tarts back in the box and got a little bit of craving, but nothing crazy. I'm not sure, like, to me this isn't that great, but I think to some people they'll be like, yeah, that's good enough, or that's expected from my diet. I think if you have 150 grams of carbs a day, this wouldn't really it wouldn't be this high in my opinion. So that's what we're gonna find out pretty much what happens later. So I'm gonna close out the video in about another hour or so. And we are back. Let me get into place here. So as you can see, I kind of hung around right under 200 for a good hour or so, but never broke the 200 barrier. I stayed around 195, 196 I think I topped out at. This is interesting because it almost looks like, and so then I'm cruising, I'm still above 100, and we're 3 hours in, and it's almost like I have a new baseline. If I zoom out a little bit, I started down here in the 90s, and I am still stuck in the 100s. So every time, this is the concern with having a high carb meal, especially when not pairing it with protein. If you just eat carbs, you might get stuck in this zone, and then by the time it's time to eat again, because I'm hungry, no doubt, I'm behind on calories and protein, I'm hungry, at this point, you eat again, and people get perpetually high blood sugar, and this is why you end up having glycation problems, and you never truly let your digestive system rest. People who are eating late and then waking up and eating early, I could already see it. I could also see that when I started, 10 a.m. seemed to be my high point, and then things cruised down. So I'd like to see, over the course of 24 hours where my high point of the day really is at. But this is already really valuable. It kind of killed me to not be training while watching these numbers be so high. But that's part of the experiment. And then, I don't have a basis for comparison for myself, and that's why I'm happy that we did this. This is the original one after, like I said, a near carnivore, very ultra low carb diet. I think eventually we can get better, but I don't know. It seemed like I was hanging out there for a little bit too long and just never was able to drive that sugar out fast enough. But yeah, if you're a doctor, maybe it wasn't so bad. I don't know. So that's what we're gonna figure out. So over the course of time, I never got hangry. I am hungry now, and I am behind on my diet and everything. And what I notice here is that it's going to take a lot of catching up for me to get enough protein and the proper amount of fats in, which I have to get now. And I have to do a little bit of ridiculous stuff to like make that happen. And what I realize is if you're a parent and you're sending your kid out, I'm going to say this many times, but if you're a parent, you're sending your kid out with a bowl of oatmeal and no protein source, no quality fat source, or a bowl of cereal and not enough protein, it's like child abuse at this point, because it's going to be so hard to catch up on protein. And that's what I need to do now. So we're going to explore some of that stuff later on. The next thing I need to do, I need to eat a whole lot of food. I need to decide. I think it's time. We have a very, very new flavor hot off the batch of NutriBio right here, bourbon banana nut. So I think I might roll right into that review. But I need to eat some real food. I don't want to have the fats in just yet because my blood sugar is still a little bit above, and I seem to have the 4-hour number. It seems to be where I like to split up the carbs and fats. All right, folks, so that's the end of everything. We are going to begin this journey, and it all starts today. It all starts now. My MyFitnessPal is public. It's PricePlow, and everything else is going to be public as well. So you're going to see a whole lot, and I'm going to share as much of this data as I can. Lessons learned here is that I can handle some carbs. I think 50 would be smarter. Lesson learned is that if you're carbing up for the first time in a while, water, lots and lots of water. You need water molecules to refill glycogen, and it's just been sucked dry out of my mouth, and I still need a lot more. Other than that, I'm just hungry, and if you're gonna slam carbs, you gotta find a way to pair them with proteins, in my opinion. I'm trying to keep them away from fats, but if you do something like this, you gotta catch up later. Otherwise, you're going to drop their protein, and if you do that, you're gonna shrink like I have. All right, so this is Mike with PricePlow. Thanks again for watching. This has been fun and educational, but there's a whole lot more interesting stuff to come, and hopefully I will eventually get my blood sugar back down under 100. We'll see you then.
Welcome to PricePlow.